My friend's ex-wife gets his family's business shut down and burns their lives to the ground, not what you may think. I've told this story before, but I wanted to share it again, this time from my own point of view. It's about two of my closest friends, Ray and Justin, and how their ex-marriage, an accident, and one act of desperation ended up tearing apart an entire corrupt family business. Ray and Justin grew up in a strict religious community that might as well have been a cult. Everything was controlled: what they read, who they talked to, what they thought. They both loved reading, though, and even the smallest glimpses of the outside world made them question everything they were raised to believe. That curiosity was dangerous in their world. When they met in high school, that shared spark of rebellion turned into something more. They started dating secretly, which was completely forbidden. In that community, you didn't date, you just got married when your family decided it was time. When their parents caught them holding hands and talking in public, they were forced into marriage to make things right before God. They were teenagers, barely adults, and suddenly, they were stuck in a life neither of them wanted. But instead of breaking them, being trapped together made them stronger. They hatched a plan to escape. They secretly opened a bank account outside the community's influence, since everyone at the local bank was part of the same cult and loved to gossip about transactions. Every paycheck, they'd stash a little money away, just enough that their families wouldn't notice. It took a long time, but by the time they were 20, they finally had enough. One night, they packed what they could fit in their car and drove off, leaving behind their families, their church, and everything they'd ever known. The family strikes back. 14 hours after the accident, Justin's family showed up: his parents, uncles, and even his grandfather. No one had told them what happened, yet somehow they knew. The moment they arrived, they took over. They demanded everyone else be removed from the ICU, including Ray. Because she was his ex-wife, she had no legal standing. Watching her break down outside the hospital room was gut-wrenching. She kept telling us Justin wasn't safe with them, that they'd hurt him. I'll admit, at first, I thought she was overreacting. I thought, they're his family. Surely they wouldn't harm him. Then she explained something that made my blood run cold. In their religion, suffering was seen as divine punishment, a way to redeem those who strayed. According to Ray, his family believed Justin and she had sinned by leaving, and that pain, physical, emotional, spiritual, was the only way to bring them back to God. She was convinced they wanted him to suffer. One of our friends who worked at the hospital secretly pulled Ray aside and told her something alarming. She'd overheard Justin's parents demanding that the hospital release him into their care, even though he wasn't stable. They were involving lawyers, trying to override the medical team. If the hospital gave in, they'd have full control, and Ray was certain he'd never recover. That was the moment something inside her snapped. Ray's desperate gamble. Ray decided if they were going to take Justin, she'd do anything to stop them. Her plan was insane, but brilliant. She set out to start a fire that would keep his family too busy to interfere. In a single night, she exposed every dirty secret that family had buried. She called the IRS and reported their business for tax fraud. She tipped off the ATF about illegal firearms sales the family was running under the table. She told them about the uncle, a convicted felon, who was buying and selling guns illegally. Then she went after Justin's mother's daycare, which was completely unlicensed. She told authorities there were more than 30 kids crammed into one house with no trained supervision, just Justin's younger sisters, barely teenagers, forced to care for them. She filed reports with CPS about physical abuse in one of the uncle's homes and detailed how they kept their kids out of school. Every report included names, addresses, and specifics. When she was done, she sat down and waited. We all did. 4 hours, nothing happened. Then, miraculously, Justin woke up. He became lucid enough to understand what was happening and immediately demanded that his family leave. That single moment probably saved his life. Ray finally exhaled for the first time in a full day. None of us realized yet just how deep her actions had cut. Fallout and freedom. A couple of weeks later, the phone calls started, furious, screaming voicemails from every corner of Justin's family. The storm had arrived. The IRS opened an investigation into the family business. Then the ATF followed. The daycare was shut down. CPS showed up at multiple homes. Justin's uncle, yeah, the one with the guns, ended up back in prison for a new 5-year sentence. For the first time, Ray didn't feel fear, she felt justice. Maybe even peace. The cult had taken so much from both of them. Now, finally, something had taken from it. Justin's family business crumbled. The daycare was gone. The kids, though still trapped in that world, at least had to attend school now. Ray told me she didn't regret a single thing. They would have killed him, she said flatly. This was the only way. Justin survived, but the accident left him with permanent neurological tremors. Still, he worked full-time again, biked again, lived again. Ray stayed in his life as his chosen family. To me, that was the real revenge, not the destruction, but their freedom. 3 years later. Years passed. I didn't think I'd ever revisit this story, but people kept asking how Justin and Ray were doing. So, here's the update 3 years later. Ray is married now to her wonderful wife. Justin got ordained online and officiated their tiny outdoor wedding in 2020 when the pandemic canceled their original plans. It was one of the most beautiful, healing things I've ever witnessed. Their families, of course, didn't stop. Before the wedding, members of the old community showed up at Ray's house, leaving repent notes taped to the door. But once she married, the harassment died down. Maybe they finally realized she wasn't coming back. Justin, meanwhile, is thriving. He's dating someone amazing, cycling daily again, and living his life on his own terms. The tremors are still there, but he's adapted beautifully. The escape network. The wildest part? Justin and Ray have quietly become an underground railroad of sorts for others trying to escape that cult. Justin's younger sister was the first. She turned 18, got accepted to college, and her parents forbade her from going. So Justin sent her a plane ticket. One night, she packed her essentials and vanished. She's thriving in college now and always has a place to come home to. Then came a 19-year-old boy, a friend of Justin's sister, who needed out. I actually hosted him for a few months myself. He was so full of wonder, learning about the outside world, dating, working, just living. And most recently, Ray's cousin reached out, a woman trapped in an abusive marriage, told to submit more and make him happy. Ray helped her escape, too, even though the cousin still clings to some of the old beliefs and can be homophobic toward Ray's wife. Ray just says, deprogramming takes time. Unsolved mysteries and hope. There's still one chilling mystery: how their families keep finding them. No matter how many times Ray and Justin move, change numbers, or lock down their social media, the cult always seems to know where they are. We've done digital sweeps, checked for trackers, everything. Nothing. Somehow, they still show up at their doors and call from new numbers. Despite it all, Ray and Justin are happy. They built a chosen family, a community of survivors, and a quiet life filled with small joys. The world that tried to crush them couldn't. If anyone reading this cares about people trapped in situations like theirs, look up the Safe Passage Foundation. They help people escape high-control religious groups and start over. That's where I'll end this story. Justin and Ray made it out, and now they're helping others do the same. And honestly, that's the best revenge of all. Like and subscribe to our channel Reddit Mid Tales.